in Canada, part 3, some good things from Canada, and then we all woke up to the news about Ukraine and Russia, something we were expecting would happen, and finally has happened. So Pastor Calvin Lindstrom, Pastor James Pittman, join us on a Sunday if you don't have a faithful church where you are worshiping. Church Christian Liberty in Arlington Heights, New Hope Community Church in Palatine. James, what time do your morning services start?
We start at 10:45.
10:45, okay. Our Sunday school's at 10. Our morning service starts at 11. And if you were following the candidates forum that both James and I were helping to moderate, that has been pushed back 1 week. Thursday, March 3rd now, the candidate forum. So check for the candidate forum later, not today. So James, should we start off with Canada, or do you want to start off with the situation in Ukraine?
Let's go ahead and start off with Canada.
Okay.
I believe it was yesterday that Mr. Trudeau went forward with this announcement. It's going to be 2 clips. Here's the first one.
Okay. Let me kill this here, and let me get this clip. Okay.
From the one, I think one of 2 independent sources of media in Canada from Rebel News. Here it is.
Okay.
And today, after careful consideration, we're ready to confirm that the situation is no longer an emergency. Therefore, the federal government will be ending the use of the Emergencies Act. We are confident that existing laws and bylaws are now sufficient to keep people safe. Of course, we'll continue to be there to support provincial and local authorities if and when needed. And I want to reassure Canadians, law enforcement agencies are prepared to deal with anyone engaging in unlawful or dangerous activities. Police officers will continue to be there to protect our streets and neighborhoods within their jurisdictions.
Now, that's the first one. And so I looked up and I says, wow, Trudeau has lost. But I think it is also, I've seen on several outlets that the one part about this, the power to freeze assets and the power of a financial institution, they made permanent. They made that permanent. So he still has the ability, if he deems you as a threat, to go in and freeze your bank account, in essence, stealing your money. And with that in mind, that he made those financial powers permanent, here's the next clip.
Okay.
Recognizing that he has the power still to take your money.
Within 60 days, there will be an inquiry into the circumstances that led to the Emergencies Act being invoked. It will look at how we got there and why it was required. It could look at policing. The inquiry could also examine the funding, influence, and disinformation that supported the illegal blockades and occupations, both foreign and domestic.
So he has the power. He has the power over the financial institutions. And after announcing that the Emergency Act has been revoked, he then threatens everyone who had anything to do with it, foreign or domestic. And so I know people who say they have, I don't know if BMO Harris is actually, I think it's owned by Bank of Toronto.
It was Bank of Montreal.
Bank of Montreal.
Bank of Montreal, yeah.
I have people saying they're taking their monies out of BMO Harris.
Yeah.
They're taking them out. They're taking the money out. And so that was a threat. Calvin, that was an open, unveiled threat.
No doubt.
Anyone who had anything to do with that truckers, we're going to crush you and take your money. So there he is, the dictator Trudeau. People are celebrating that he took down the Emergencies Act. revoked it because they're saying he did not have the votes in the Senate. That's why he revoked it.
Okay.
But if the government has enough money that at a whim, without a court order, to freeze your bank accounts, that's tyranny. Who would want to keep their money in Canadian
So,
bank?
okay, let me ask you this: is that that financial piece that's separate from the Emergencies Act, or how can that remain and the other aspects not remain?
I don't know, but several outlets said that they moved, and I remember when they did it, like on Monday, I guess, they moved to make it permanent. And for whatever reason, they were able to make it permanent, and then he revoked the Emergencies Act, but kept the most important part of all of it, the ability to freeze individual accounts without a court order. I'm 99% sure.
Yeah.
Because any government can freeze your account, but it has to go for a court order. I think what made this so special was they didn't need a court order. And so if you keep that in place, how is that not a dictatorship? Freeze your personal assets. At one man enabled to do that. So I think that's where Canada is. People, it's far from over. He got what he wanted. He's a dictator now. He is a dictator in Canada.
Yeah. James, people have said, hey, you should check your own bank and try to get into a safer banking system.
What do they mean? Like,
well, like you were saying, maybe people are getting out of BMO Harris, for example.
Yeah.
What about let's say your Chase Bank? Do you think, does it matter in the U.S.? Do you think it matters what bank you're connected to in terms of these situations?
I think it does. We, as a church and as an individual, I moved our banking to a community bank. Because when I took over as senior pastor some years ago, our bank was BMO Harris. Right? And that's when BMO Harris was leading the charge on the gay pride issue.
You know what? I think that was when we moved our accounts. I think maybe that was still Harris Bank at that time.
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah, but then BMO Harris, I mean, it was soon after that it was BMO Harris.
Yeah,
but,
I think you're right. Yeah. So we did it because of the banks now getting involved in politics.
All
They
right.
were on the wrong side of politics.
Yes, I
so
agree.
we moved ours to a community bank. And when I moved there, I asked the branch manager, are you guys involved in pushing LGBTQ community issues? Are you pushing pro-choice? Are you guys involved in politics? And if so, where? And they said, no, Pastor, we try our best to stay out of that. And I said, good, just be a bank.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm good. I don't care what you personally believe. Just be a bank.
Right.
And so my community bank ensured me that they did not get involved in politics to that level. So we moved it to the community bank that's based here locally in Illinois. It's not the city or the Chase or the big banks, BMO.
Right.
Because they push for.
Yep.
They're left.
So let's just take this. We're not exactly where Canada is, thankfully. But I mean,
I would agree with you unless we'll see what happens with this trucker thing.
Oh, no, it'll be interesting to see. I'm saying I'm not saying it can't happen, but
65% of Democrats agree with Trudeau. I read on more than one. 65 to 70% of Democrats agreed with what Trudeau did.
Yeah, well, now they've
we'll
drank
see.
the Kool-Aid.
I hope not.
So
let
me ask you this: in terms of Canada, would it matter what bank? You're in mom. Let's say you're at BMO Harris Bank, or you're in mom and pop local community bank. Did that matter in Canada in terms of their ability to shut down accounts?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I guess here might be the thing. For reasons of, hey, is your bank supportive of tyranny or perversion, that's where you say, okay, maybe consider going to a smaller bank that's not doing those things. But if you're talking about you're going to protect yourself from all forms of tyranny, that may not be something that you can safeguard yourself
I was just about to
against,
say,
right?
I'm not even sure you have the power to do that.
Well, right, because it's all, we're in a sense we're in a one world system, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
anyway. I think this is one thing. Proverb says, the prudent see trouble from afar. So
yes. That's
there's a place to say, you know what may happen, prayerfully consider that. But if you think, man, I'm going to save myself from all problems,
yeah.
that's that's not the reality.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That there's a place for prudence, and I think there needs to be discussion on these matters. Christians coming together. Are you familiar with Gab, the
Yeah,
founder of Gab?
we have we are on Gab
Yeah,
sometime.
he's talking about what's called the parallel economy,
Yes, I'm
and
familiar with that.
there needs to be some serious thought on those matters.
Yep.
Well, James, I guess we thought maybe this day would come, and it'll be interesting to see what it develops. But we all woke up to, hey, there's something going on in Ukraine. Let me share, James, a clip that some of us might remember.
Yeah.
Here, I'll see if I can share the screen there.
I think I know what it is. Yeah.
So this was our president while he was running.
Election to decide who the president's going to be. And this time I'm the object of their attention. Because Putin knows if I am president of the United States, his days of tyranny and trying to intimidate the United States and those in Eastern Europe are over. I'm going to stand up to him. He's a bully, just like the president. And I know he doesn't want me to be president, but to tell you what, when I'm president, things are going to change. Mr. Putin, the American people decide their elections, not you. Chip in $1, $5.
So here, James, my question is,
$10.
how much did
Folks, hear the
Putin
news.
chip in?
Once again, Putin and the Russians are trying to engage.
So how much did Putin chip in there, James? That's my
my goodness.
question on that. Let me play this other clip here. This is the Wall Street Journal. I thought it was an interesting summary, just for those who aren't aware of everything going on
across the border in southern Ukraine. Airstrikes hitting large cities, and thousands of people attempting to flee the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Footage from Ukraine shows scenes of war after President Putin announced a military operation in the country.
Everyone here is shocked. Everyone here knew that this might be coming for months. It was predicted and discussed. And now that it's here, it's very hard to fathom. And people here, a lot of them have fled, but a lot remain.
Ukrainian officials said strikes targeted military installations, airfields, and government facilities across the country. Air raid sirens blared in Kiev after President Putin's statement was broadcast.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима.
In the early hours of February 24th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's actions against Russia. The EU said it...
Anyway, we could look more at that, but some of it is, just the contrast of someone like a Putin. I mean, not that that's who we want as our president, but people that thought, Trump was this tyrant, and I think we're realizing, I think a lot of people are probably saying, I wonder, would it be different if Trump were president? That's an interesting question. What could the U.S. do? What should the U.S. have been doing in that situation? I'm not. I don't know if I know all the answers to that, to be honest.
Well, look at what people are putting up there. They showed a timeline of Russia going in and taking Crimea, and then there was 4 years of silence,
Mhm.
4 years of no invasions from Russia,
Right.
and then now all of a sudden they're
Mhm.
going into the Ukraine. What's the common denominator in
Well,
Putin's aggression?
sure.
Democrats are in the White House, and I just saw a news article that this morning that Taiwan has said that 9 aircrafts have broken their
Mhm.
airspace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Uh, Biden's compromised. We know this.
Mhm.
If we know it, Putin knows it. Xi
Yeah.
Jinping knows it.
Right.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so sad.
It is. Yeah. I don't know that there are any simplistic answers in terms of, well, we just got to do this and this. One thing that it has revealed is the foolishness of Europe and their green energy, their Green New Deals, which has made them very dependent on Russia rather than developing their own true energy
Yes.
independence.
Yes.
Now, it's been said, oh, well, the U.S. will fill up what Europe
No.
needs, and that's like, you know what, that's like trying to think you're going to power the neighborhood with a few extension cords from your house. You might be able to help your neighbor, and maybe you can help 2 of your neighbors with some extension cords, but you're not gonna power your neighborhood. The U.S. is not going to just step in and fill the energy void.
But if the thinking was, if you completed the XL pipeline, Calvin, and if you were a full go on natural gas and coal, you could have done it. But he shut that down immediately.
Well, no, that's right. We've hampered ourselves, and that
Biden has hampered us.
No, that's right. Biden.
hampered.
Right,
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you know what? In Illinois, we have all these crazy schemes also in Illinois, right? We're gonna, we're getting rid of this and that, and Illinois has so much coal, vast quantities of coal, and we're, you know what your electric bill and your gas bill have been doing, right?
The
You know,
gas gas bill for the last 2 months. I thought at one point I was like, why are they sending me the church bill to my house?
Yeah,
My
right.
church got mixed up in the billing.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't for the church. It was my house.
Yeah.
And the degrees had to go down on the thermostat immediately. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's
So different
not good.
states have made foolish choices on some of this quote green energy, and Texas really paid a price last year for that. Europe is waking up to the fact, having to get half of your gas from Russia. And so guess what? Who gets the upper hand there on this? It's
It's stunning to me how can I say this nicely, unintelligent the leaders are. Once you become dependent on Russia,
right.
You're basically asking them to invade Ukraine. And guess what, Calvin? In all reality, it's not going to stop at the Ukraine. Putin has said before, he's been recorded as saying he wants the recreation or the reconstitution of the USSR.
Mm-hmm.
He says the worst day in the life of Russia when Gorbachev let the USSR go.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Oh yeah, he has an agenda that Russia becomes the primary power. Do you think this? I don't think anything conspiratorial today is really that conspiratorial. But let me ask you this: do you think there are forces that are encouraging this war to kind of prop up the let's call it the military industrial complex?
Someone sent me a text, and I just want to make sure I get my facts right. They said they read. Here we go. So John Harris, you know who John Harris is, right, Kelvin?
I don't know that I do. No, I don't know if I know that name.
John Harris is a commentator. He used to be SBC, and he has his podcast, I think, out of South Carolina.
Oh, okay. You know what?
Uh,
Okay. Sorry. I do know that name now. Yes, I do know that
yeah,
name.
he actually did. Okay, but anyway, um, some of the people at our church followed him, and they said John Harris says that after reading Putin's actual words, he has decided that the U.S. wants a war with Russia. So a popular Christian commentator said he's read. I have not read it in depth.
Okay.
So Kelvin, put it this way: I don't trust the Biden administration, and it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. I don't trust our government. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
So Kelvin, after what the biggest casualty in all of this, COVID-19 stuff in the last 2 years, is that the trust in the government, whether it be the CDC, the NIH, or Fauci and his NAIA, whatever it is, I forget whatever it's called, but the biggest casualty is Americans don't trust their government. A large portion of America don't trust their government anymore. So when they come out and they talk to us about anything, whether you're talking about infectious disease or war with Russia, I don't trust them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't trust them. I just don't trust them. We have Corky McDowell on chat here in YouTube. She says, yes, I believe that also. I believe she's responding to John Harris, that the U.S. is provoking a war with Russia.
Now, yeah, it's interesting. There's a professor at the University of Chicago, very famous political scientist. I think his name is like Mearsheimer. He was saying, we need to keep NATO from expanding into Ukraine. Ukraine should be a neutral country that will ease tension with Russia, in his view. Now, it is interesting. I guess here's my thing. Should not the people of Ukraine
I was just about to say that.
determine what they want? It's not.
I was just about to say
Ultimately, it should not be Russia. It should not be the U.S. What are the people? What do the people of Ukraine want?
Yeah.
And that should be what we reflect in terms of policy. But
isn't the whole impetus of us getting involved saying Ukraine should be a sovereign nation? Right? They should decide what they want to do.
This is unfortunately the sad part of so much of U.S. foreign policy. Is it comes down to meddling and manipulation.
Yep.
And boy, that when you think you can do that I'll say that does not end well. So to whatever degree that the U.S. has been meddling or manipulating, that's not going to end well. And how we determine what really the people of Ukraine want, I don't know in terms of how that gets assessed properly.
Calvin, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I'm also gonna put Corky on the spot. She confirmed that yes, she was talking about John Harris. Let me put you on the spot. Simple question, Calvin. Do you still believe that the U.S. is a force for good in the world?
I would say in some situations, yes. In other situations, I think we no. I mean, and you know what? This is not anything new. If you study, some have said it's better to be the enemy of the U.S. They'll buy you out. If you're the friend of the U.S., they'll sell you out. That, especially, at post-World War II, different interactions, people that wanted our help were often sold out, and then we bought out enemies. People were used, and it's not a simple answer. The U.S. has been, I would say, a force for good. But
I
in a lot
understand
of
in the past.
situations,
I understand in the past.
yeah.
I'm saying now.
Well, as I
You
say,
say-
we had someone come in talking about Rhodesia back from the late 70s and early 80s. In various ways, we sold out the people of Rhodesia to a Marxist government, and it was a time of incredible suffering. That's where international pressure was. In the name of fighting white supremacy, we sold it out to a tyranny. That was the solution. So that, unfortunately, I don't trust Putin either, because he was a trained KGB agent, and the KGB were masters, right, at shaping narratives. So that's like, you can't, you have to trust in the Lord, and by that, you know what? Sometimes we
Yeah.
don't always know what's going on. Now,
Yeah.
yesterday, several prayer requests were from missionaries who are in Ukraine and even in Russia. And as we think of this situation, we don't have all the answers, but I think what we should be directed to is praying for Christians in Ukraine. And I heard in eastern Ukraine, one of my friends, his wife her family is from that. They actually went to South America, and then some of them came to the U.S. And he was saying there are a lot of Christians in eastern Ukraine. So that's where he was encouraging that we really be in serious prayer for believers. And I understand everywhere around Ukraine there's a time of uncertainty. It's not just eastern Ukraine, but I think especially there in the east is where there's going to be probably what I see as part of eastern Ukraine is going to become directly under Russia, or it's going to be occupied by Russian forces.
No, they're not occupied. They're a peacekeeping
Well, yeah.
Force, and the independent parts.
But I could see a good chunk of Ukraine is going to be is going to fall into the Soviet Union or the Russians, the Russian Empire. So that in my, not an expert on this by any means, but that's what it seems like. That's where we're headed.
Yeah, and if keep an eye on Taiwan.
Yeah, and some have said keep an eye on Poland too, in terms of.
But isn't Poland part of NATO?
Well, yes, but meaning they're going to be they're going to come under. I mean, they're right in that region.
I understand that, but if he goes into Poland and nothing is done, NATO is sure enough dead. I think it's dead already, but.
Sure. No, there's.
Would he be so bold as to go into Poland?
Wow. Yeah, I think in terms of the U.S. has been sending troops to Poland, right? Isn't that where a lot of our troops have been going?
Wow.
So keep an eye on Poland in that. That could be part of the. It's going to be a hot spot. In terms of the coming days. Well, James, I'll let you have the last word.
Wars and rumors of wars. I know we all have different views when it comes to eschatology, but I'm looking at all the forces that's going on in the world. I believe there is a deluding spirit going throughout the world. That's the only thing that can explain the lunacy that we're seeing now, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And now you have the wars and rumors of wars. I hope. We were talking about this last night when we did our podcast on For Such a Time as This. I hope, Kelvin, Christ comes back and just stops the madness, because it's getting more maddening every day. That is where the ultimate hope is. That is where we set our total faith in. Mm-hmm. It is the kingdom coming, not any of the kingdoms here on earth. They're run by sinful men. And again, it just makes, if you are a believer, we actually, this last Sunday, we went Hebrews 11, part 1. And the whole thing is, let me end it with this, is that it says that Abraham chose to live in tents, right? They had cities. The big, bright, beautiful city, which his nephew Lot was lured to, Sodom. You had cities. But it says in Hebrews 11 that Abraham refused to do that. He chose to live in tents. Why?
Yeah.
because he was looking forward to the city
City to
that
come.
was coming, the city whose builder is not made by hands,
Yeah.
that city. So he
Mhm.
chose to live out in tents specifically because he did not want to be entrenched in this world.
Mhm.
He didn't want his permanent dwelling place to be anything on this world. It was looking forward to that city that was coming.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we all need to put our hope in. So this
Mhm.
next Sunday coming up at New Hope is Faith Part 2,
Okay.
the second part of Hebrews 11,
Mhm.
to where our ultimate faith, our ultimate heart needs to be in the unseen world that is coming, not the
Mhm.
seen world.
Amen. Well, good word there, James. We'll see you, Lord willing, next week. The candidate form again has been moved 1 week, March 3rd. Hopefully the
Yeah.
snow will be gone by then. Stay safe. Keep your shovels ready. Bye-bye.